Hey gang, it's JC and this is the Daily Dose for Monday, May 2nd, 2011, a combined venture with Mind Active in beautiful downtown Brentwood. Archives top of the page, eye candy along the bottom, and 9 years, 7 months, and 20 days into the war on terror, he gone. Before everybody starts celebrating too much, a little sobering news in terms of statistics here. 4,453 American soldiers have died in the war in Iraq. 32,074 American soldiers have been wounded in the war in Iraq. The war in Afghanistan is now the longest war in United States history. 1,566 American soldiers have died in the war in Afghanistan. 11,110 American soldiers have been wounded in that war. A record-breaking 245 American soldiers killed themselves in 2009, the latest year that those numbers are available. More United States soldiers are dying from drug overdoses, suicide, murder, and accidents than in combat. At least 100,598 Iraqi civilians have been killed. 2.8 million Iraqis have been displaced. We've spent $787 billion waging the war in Iraq and $400 billion in the war in Afghanistan. And it costs roughly $390,000 for each American soldier deployed every year. Well, the question is, was Osama bin Laden murdered, or did he just commit suicide after seeing the Russell Brand remake of Arthur? Okay, let's start with the jokes. His last words were, "Tell William and Kate they looked beautiful." All right, how about this one? Osama bin Laden's last words, "So, my iPhone really is tracking my every move." The news is so big, it knocked Charlie Sheen right off a pile of hookers. All right, it turns out that bin Laden wasn't in a cave at all. We believed that because that's what we were told for the last 10 years. He was in the suburbs, living in a place that was like 8 times the size of the biggest mansions that they had just outside of the capital of Pakistan. The Navy SEALs went in. Now again, this story is being updated as we speak, and by the time you watch this today, on Monday, there may be a completely different set of details out there, but what we know right now is that this thing was actually, almost for a while, reminiscent of the failed attempt by then President Jimmy Carter back in the late 1970s to free the Iranian hostages. Remember when they tried to land in the desert and the choppers went down and crashed because the sand apparently got caught up in their engines, and it was a huge thing. And I remember Jimmy Carter had to go on the air at 7 o'clock in the morning and say, we tried to go in there and get them, and we failed, and it just didn't help him at all. But apparently, one of the choppers, in essence, crashed on this effort, and they decided to go in anyhow, but it was like touch and go for a while. And the Navy SEALs, after they dragged the body of bin Laden back to one of the functioning helicopters, blew the one that sort of crash landed. They blew it up. Now, it's up for discussion as to whether it crash landed. The motor stopped working somehow, but the helicopter was apparently disabled. They went in, there were multiple helicopters, but one of them, carrying the Navy SEALs, basically went down. And what a mess that almost could have been. Can you imagine that? This whole story might have ended up completely different. So I'm punching around on the news stations last night looking for updates, looking to sort of see who's covering it how. No Katie Couric to be found. Russ Mitchell, an amazing job again last night, and just one more reason why Russ Mitchell and not Scott Pelley ought to be getting that job at CBS News on the evening news, replacing Katie Couric. I turned over to the Fox News channel just for fun. It was being anchored by Geraldo Rivera. Talk about getting caught with your pants down. What else we got here? Yeah, and it was just, there's some sort of poetic justice in the idea that the bulletin broke right in the middle of Donald Trump's stupid Celebrity Apprentice show last night on NBC. That is just precious, let me tell you. That is great. So the question becomes, who starts politicizing this whole thing first? And they didn't have to wait long, because you go to the social networking sites like Facebook, and people were already trying to put their spin on it, congratulating President Bush, who actually started the whole thing, who started the attempt to capture Osama bin Laden, which of course is not true. Bill Clinton tried it, and his attempt failed during his presidency. And, you know, maybe they have that mission accomplished banner left over from the aircraft carrier when Bush went in there. By the way, these people who are trying to spin this in favor of George W. Bush, I looked at one of them, no lie, I'm not kidding you, spelled his name B-U-S-C-H, like the beer. That should tell you something. So is it going to be 4 more years of... oh, and by the way, somebody told me that Geraldo Rivera accidentally said, referring to the president, and called him President Osama last night. I don't know if I can't get that confirmed, but that's what I was told. But is it going to be 4 more years of this president? Man, oh man. First he shoots everybody down, all the birthers with the birth certificate, and now this, and a lot can change. A lot can change between now and Election Day, as we know. So, I don't know, in the words of Mark Twain, I've never wished a man dead, but I've read some obituaries with great pleasure. How's that? Pakistan. I guess they have a little splaining to do this morning, huh? And maybe we can get on an airport or get on an airplane now without having our 6-year-olds frisked and patted down. But the truth of the matter is, no, this is going to probably elevate. Is this going to light a match under the terrorist efforts of what's left of Al-Qaeda and the terrorists over in the Middle East? I mean, who knows? Hard. I mean, it's nice to celebrate, and that's great, and we should. But at the same time, like I said, you have some sobering moments where you're like, oh, wait a minute. These guys aren't going to take this lying down either. You know, Al-Qaeda already trying to spin this thing in their direction said that, you know, Osama bin Laden stood up and fought the insurrection, and his wife, showing loyalty to the last moment, stood in front of him. Yeah, she was a human shield. Nice work there. And I guess I would just say in closing, I just hope that Osama's 72 virgins all end up looking like Cloris Leachman. Oh, boy. On a semi-related story, the White House Correspondents' Dinner was on Saturday night in Washington. This is where all of the reporters get together, and then they get some comedian to go up there and just make fun of everybody. And this year it was Seth Meyers from Weekend Update on Saturday Night Live, and it really just degenerated into another Donald Trump roast. I mean, the jokes were all over the place, and Trump sat there with his face. I mean, you're supposed to be able to take this stuff in stride. You're supposed to be able to laugh it off even when you're the butt of the jokes. But Trump just sat there like this the whole time. He looked like he had the mumps or something. He just was not cool with the whole thing. So the dickhead continues to be a dickhead. Let's leave it at that. All right, now that Osama is dead, we can move on to our bizarre obsessions with royalty and celebrity information. Somebody is paying Pia Toscano $100,000 to sing at a private birthday party. They offered her $50,000. She said no, and they said, we'll throw in a limo, and by the way, we'll double it to $100,000. And she said, what time would you like me to be there? Oh, for the last couple of years, it's been more than just a couple, as a matter of fact, since Cameron Crowe has made a movie. Now, this guy makes great movies. He made Almost Famous. He made Jerry Maguire. He made Vanilla Sky. I didn't like Vanilla Sky. He had a hand in making Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And his last movie, Elizabethtown, which was not particularly well received, and which I really enjoyed a lot, and but in a really sort of offbeat kind of way. Anybody who has recently lost a parent, I guess, should see the movie, but you got to be careful. Plan something fun afterwards. It's a very, very well-made movie, but anyhow, Almost Famous, obviously, was one of his best movies ever, and I've told a lot of people, having been there myself, that Almost Famous is probably the most accurate depiction of the rock and roll world, if you will, in the 1970s. I was watching that movie going, you know, I could have somehow morphed myself into some of those scenes. It was an incredibly accurate depiction of what it was like being around the music business, being on the road with a rock and roll band, being backstage, you know, just stuff like that. Anyhow, Cameron Crowe has not made a movie since Elizabethtown, which has got to go back, what is it, 8 years ago now? 7, 6, something like that. Anyhow, to celebrate the band's 20th anniversary, Cameron Crowe has made a documentary about Pearl Jam called PJ20. It'll hit theaters in September. You know, one of the other things going on in Cameron Crowe's life was his divorce from Nancy Wilson of Heart. By the way, forget about the whole Osama bin Laden capture and murder. A year-long undercover federal sting operation has busted an Amish ring selling unpasteurized milk. Congratulations, boys. By the way, one more thing. I keep thinking it's over. I keep thinking I'm gonna move on. I've been fighting a cold since last Thursday, Didn't even get out of bed on Saturday, but it is a thing worth noting, I guess you would say, that it was on this date in 2003 that George W. Bush stood on that flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln with a banner containing the words, "Mission accomplished." He announced that major combat operation in Iraq was over. We still have 50,000 troops there. Then you throw in the other guys overseas. I don't know. All right. Like I said, now that this is over, we can refix our attention on our bizarre obsession with the royalty in Britain, and I have two pictures that you'll like. One, I swear to God, was not doctored. Perhaps an early start to the honeymoon. I'll give you just a quick little flash right there. What's going on in that picture? And then it turns out that Kate Middleton has a even hotter sister right there. So if you look right below what you're looking at right now, you just see everything without me moving the picture around. That's on our eye candy feature, and we change it every day here at jcontheline.com. All right, just a reminder, if you go to the St. Louis Blues website, you can get your tickets to the big deal, which is going on a week from Thursday, May 12th, the 25th anniversary of the Monday Night Miracle. Our friend, our dearly departed friend, Doug Wickenheiser, scoring that goal. Gino Cavallini is going to be there, Bernie Federico, Craig Peslowski, Rick Mahar, and many, many more. I've been asked to, and I have graciously obliged to be the MC for this event. It's going to be Thursday at the site of the old barn. May 12th, that's a week from Thursday, 5:30 to 8:30. Again, go to stlouisblues.com. You can get all the details. And just a reminder that a week from today, we begin our week-long 27th anniversary celebration of my arrival here in St. Louis. We're on the air every day on the big 550 KTRS from 10 in the morning until 1, along with the lovely Trish Gazelle. All right, that's it. JC's Daily Dose for Monday, May 2nd, a jubilant day in these here United States of America. Thanks a lot. In the meantime, we've beaten this one to death. Have a good one. See you later. Bye.